So I was really trying to help this very old woman. She was definitely having trouble with even communicating normally, and she was like constantly interrupting like normal communication. So I was kind of trying to figure out what's the matter, and how is it possible to restore normal communication uh, with that old woman. We were like very close neighbors. So uh, it turned out like the case was kind of socially tougher than I thought it would be. It turned out like she wasn't like mentally well or something, and this really causes like this really big emotions. Like there's like someone is like always complaining, and mm, they don't tell why. They don't tell why they are complaining. So they're like always complaining and never shutting up the complaints. And they also don't tell why they complain. So I I wasn't the expert, in finding out those things, or listening. I wasn't the expert. I was like a normal normal young man. Just you know trying to be nice. Trying to kind of figure out what's the matter. So what I now conclude after exiting the situation, I I I see that it's very difficult for some people to live alone, right? For them, it's like a problem if they're alone, right? So that itself is um, is something horrible, and if we add like gambling at too high stakes, it's kind of a nightmare, so they experience nightmare, these mentally ill people, they experience nightmare because they play at too high stakes. Well, they aren't poker people, but they kind of gamble, with other things, like with their money, and they 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 kind of try to break through in a very aggressive way in other life areas. So they're alone and they try to break through to a better situation, but for them it is complete horror, complete nightmare, and the nightmare is amplified because they gamble, right? So it doesn't get better because the gambling is causing more and more unknown, uncertain situation, like, and this makes them freak out even more. So now they're also like, I'm freaked out. Everybody's like eating and nicely and talking to her nicely, and she's like, I'm freaked out. So that is what gambling does. I have experienced that. If you play at too high stakes, you are freaked out. Because you don't know what will happen, and so this gambling kind of amplifies the horror of that loneliness, right? So so let's take a person who's afraid of being alone. That's kind of disability or something. But let's say there's a person who's afraid of being alone, and now they amplify that by gambling, by trying to break out by gambling. So that is now nightmare. But there's no need to gamble, right? There's absolutely no need to do those gambles. This kind of amplifies the horror, right? So this, and I now have understood, after exiting those situations. But um, so my advice, if I can give any advice, would be to stop those gambling, because the gambling kind of amplifies those horrors. Right? Now you also don't know, right? It isn't also scary, but now you also don't know. So don't go there, and do something that you know. Do something that you're used to. Some very small good efforts in something that you know, in area of life that you know. That's profitable actually. But so don't go to unknown gamble. That's kind of even more scary, where it's very hard to win and improve the situation. So do what you already know, and with very small steps would be my advice.